And now, the time fight fans all across the globe have been waiting for. It's the main card with your man, The Voice. You know me, you see me. I'm rocking my St. Louis stuff because that's just what I do. And in the opposite corner, my mano Imano, my verbal sparring partner with his Philly stuff on because that's just what he do. The Iron One, Wildress Ruffin. What's going on, Ruff?
What's up? What's up? We back. It's always a beautiful, beautiful day when it's smoke o'clock on the main card. I'm here with, you see his Battlehawk hat, the man, the myth, the legend. He's out here cacawing, but we don't know why. The Voice. How you doing, boss?
I'm doing wonderful because cacaw is law. So, you know, whenever you do it, you got to throw out random cacaws from time to time, just to make sure they know that you out here in these streets.
I don't know nothing about that, big dog. I'm a Broad Street bully myself, but we here. It's the main card with your man Wildress, your man The Voice. We know y'all miss this. You see these beautiful faces back on your screen. This boyish good looks and this baby soft skin, man. We got some amazing things to get into. We're gonna get into UFC 310. We got another championship bout, the sequel, and also, of course, your KOs and low blows filled with your WWE news and your combat sports. Voice, you ready to get into it?
Yes, sir.
Let's go. We starting today with some crazy news. Young Voice, one of our favorite fighters, a favorite that we always talk about here on the main card, Tank Davis, one of the game's youngest stars, recently said during his media scrum that 2025 is it for his fighting career. He feels like he's jaded. He said it after next year, I'm out of it. I'm out of this sport. When talking to the media, Davis stated that during the press conference, he declared more of a lack of enthusiasm for boxing as the primary reason. He said a couple words that we can't say here, but at the end of them, he said it's trash. He said, I'm fed up. I'm fed up with the whole thing. He said, I just want to be able to make money and stay out the way. That's it. I want to be living without being seen. Now, amongst the number of things that were brought up, of course, was Shakur Stevenson. And he has some things to say about Shakur. When asked about Shakur, he said, for what? For what? What has Shakur done? What has he done in the sport? He hasn't done nothing. Keyshawn Davis is looking way better than him, and Keyshawn hasn't even done nothing. I'm afraid of what? For us fighters to be afraid of someone, it has to be someone who's hitting us and hurting us. He doesn't have no offense. Everything is defense. Defense only wins in basketball and football. That don't win in boxing. Voice. We've talked about this before, about how it just seems like the big fights don't seem to be made in boxing the way they used to. I want to say during the heyday, and it seems like Tank Davis is almost fed up. At 30-0, 28 KOs, he has so much ahead of him only at the age of 30, but it seems like he's ready to hang it up. What are you thinking about this?
I understand where he's coming from, and I understand part of his frustration. However, he really has to take a look in the mirror when it comes to that. He left Mayweather Promotions so that he could make his own way. He felt as if Floyd was holding him back. And I won't say that Floyd was holding him back, but he was meticulously guiding his career. The goal was make the most money possible when, of course, you are fighting for money. But as a fighter and as an athlete, you also do it for the challenge. And he hasn't been challenged. He now is in another fight with somebody coming up in weight again. So the deck is really stacked against him. He thought he would have more resistance with Frank Martin. Many people did, but Frank was really untested. And honestly, I hear what he's saying about Shakur, but Shakur has beat some real people, as well. And many people could say the same thing about Tank in his career. Again, his win over Pitbull aged well until it didn't. And his win over Ryan aged well until it didn't. We need to see more of those kinds of fights. Is he scared of anyone? No, he's not scared of anybody. But something he said regarding Shakur is incorrect. He said that defense doesn't win. Well, it's said that the best offense is a good defense. And yes, Shakur is extremely defensive. He's been winning. He's undefeated as well. The reason that no one wants to see his fights is because he's so defensive and doesn't do much more than he needs to do offensively to win the fight. I still would love to see it because Tank can box. And Shakur's skill set will force him to have to box. He's not going to be able to, wait until the 7th or 8th round and just catch him clean. Or I should say, I don't think he'll be able to do that, at least based on what Shakur has done and what he's shown. He's always going to be watching out for that. I don't know if the traps that Tank sets are going to be as effective with Shakur as they would be with others. That's a fight that we want to see. We wanted to see Haney. That's not happening. I really like to see him go up to 140 and try his hand there. He's fought at 140 before. Fight Teofimo Lopez at 140. I love to see it. Fight Devin Haney at 140. That's still a draw. There's more to be done, and we've had this discussion before. Fighters retire all the time. That doesn't mean that they're going to stay there. And for him, it may be good to take a step away because you can't miss what you don't have. And even though he was incarcerated for a little bit, I don't think he's been away long enough and not been able to do it long enough for him to get that passion and that desire again.
I mean, it's interesting. I can get the frustration. It's a frustration that so many fight fans have had also. It's something we've talked about here on the show, but I agree with you. There's so much, as my uncle used to say, there's so much meat still left on the bone. Mm-hmm. How can you walk away now? And maybe it's just right now him speaking out of frustration. Maybe once he gets in the ring, he'll get to it. I mean, we've seen retirements happen with so many people. As long as he doesn't, retire and go to WWE, I'm fine with that. But there's some people in WWE he can learn about retirement from. Shawn Michaels retired, came back, and became world champion again. So it is possible.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Shawn Michaels is the greatest in-ring performer of all time. I am not going to let you disparage Shawn
I'm not saying that he's not, but you can't compare choreographed soap operas on testosterone to real fights in that sense. Now,
eventually you will have to.
Let me finish. Did Shawn do phenomenal work to get himself back to the point where they would give him that crown? Absolutely. Did he invest the blood, the sweat, and the tears to climb that ladder? Yes. But you can't compare something that's pre-planned to something that has to come about through those efforts solely. So
things happen all the time and you still get hit. You ain't finna despair Shawn Michaels. Like I said,
I didn't have to disparaging him. He's wonderful. I'm just saying it ain't the same.
See, we done had this hiatus, now you didn't come back with your smoke, and I'm ready for it. I'm here for it.
Okay.
We hope that you find it in yourself and you get that spark to where you continue to fight. You're an amazing fighter. There's so much more that you can provide. If not, talk to Shawn Michaels in WWE. That's all I
got. Hey, there have been others that have crossed over, like a Logan Paul, like you. Oh, yes, sir.
You're not. I was raising my finger because we the ones.
Oh, okay. All right. I see what you're saying. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying. we the ones, but I still love you, Solo. So why don't we go there?
I love you, Solo.
Why don't we go there? Survivor Series took place, and there was a lot of things that happened, a lot of drama, during the war games between both factions, and the OG Bloodline, as you stated, we the ones. They regained their spot. You even got Paul Heyman in here, but you see somebody doesn't have their finger up. And there was a lot of drama as far as that's concerned in the ring when everything took place. But I'm more concerned about the possible drama because of what took place in the ring. Like I said, we already talked about the Samoan werewolf, and he looked visibly hurt. He wasn't selling it, or if he was selling it, that was one sales job. But the fact that he also had them carry him out after makes me think that it was more than a sales job. There were a number of people, including Braun Breaker, that got broken in. Bronson Reed, yeah, my bad. Wrestlers, they're all alike.
Don't do this. Don't do this. So what I can tell you is Jacob Fatu was a sale. Fatu was selling.
Well, he sold that.
Yeah, he's not hurt. He is okay. Bronson Reed, however, is a different story. It's been stated that he actually suffered injuries to both ankles coming down on that big move off of the top of the cage where he was supposed to land on, not where he was supposed to land on Roman. But the way that he landed, apparently, he hit his ankles first. And according to Triple H, during the media scrum, he's going to be out for a couple weeks. And it's one of the reasons why on Monday night you saw Drew McIntyre return because of the injury. And that story is already playing out greatly, which tells you how quickly WWE moves along. Drew, of course, was behind the attack, we already know, basically, on Jey Uso, and also, attacking Sami Zayn at the end of the show. So, it'll be interesting to see how long Bronson Reed is going to be out. He's been tremendous during this heel run, those tsunamis that he's hitting, his fights with Seth Rollins. He's literally become a main eventer right in front of our eyes. And if you didn't know, Bronson Reed is a huge star internationally also. It's not just here, across the pond, New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's done some amazing things, so it'll be great to get him back. Hopefully it's not for a long period of time because he's been on a great run. But that OG Bloodline versus New Bloodline match was chef's kiss, but we already know it's still not going to be over. We haven't heard from the final boss yet, and we already know Solo is probably having something planned moving forward, and this is going to be happening moving into WrestleMania, Royal Rumble season, which moves into WrestleMania season. So these next few weeks are going to kind of set the table for everything that we're wanting to see going into the Royal Rumble, which then sets us up for WrestleMania season.
Okay, so regarding Drew McIntyre, I thought that part of the reason he was out was because he was hurt. Do you think they may be rushing him back a little swifter because of some of the injuries that took place?
Well, I think the injuries taking place are a reason he's come back. I don't think it's too soon. I think the big thing was to give him time off, because if you remember, before Drew had taken his time off, Drew was on a run. I mean, consistently 6-7 months between CM Punk, between Seth Rollins, between Sami Zayn. Drew was putting on amazing matches. So he was bound to need to take off some time, and that's something that the new regime has stated that they wanted to provide to the wrestlers. It's to not create that burnout, not allow them to give themselves time to heal, and Drew deserved it at that time period. So, I mean, of course, it's glad to see him back as long as he's healthy and he's fully ready to be here.
Okay. Now, speaking of back, I was pleasantly surprised to see one of the architects of the Monday night wars, the man who really helped usher in the golden age of wrestling, and Eric Bischoff being back in the WWE fold with NXT. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the NXT does some amazing things. They bring back the nostalgia. They also find ways. Shawn Michaels does an amazing job of finding ways to introduce the old into the new to bridge that gap. Eric Bischoff was literally there to promote this weekend's WWE NXT title match. That's going to be between Trick Williams, the champion, and it's on the tip of my tongue. If you can find his name, I'm sorry if it forbids me, but he was there just to help promote that match. I'm not sure if this is going to be something that he's going to be doing moving forward. Eric also has a really popular podcast, I think called like the 83 Week Podcast, which is homage to the 83 weeks that WCW beat WWE. But this is something that NXT has been doing for a while, bringing in old legends to kind of bridge the gap. Maybe have them rub shoulders with the young guys. We saw, Bubba Ray Dudley a few weeks ago teaming up with Trick Williams. Ridge Holland. That's who Trick Williams is facing, Ridge Holland. Okay. So it's always interesting to see that happen. We also saw Randy Orton, come in and rub shoulders with the young guys also. NXT right now is where it's at, and it's a popular place to be. Their ratings are going up since moving to the CW, so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see more of that happening in the future.
All right, last but not least, again, speaking of returns, it looks as if Big E may be making his way back into the ring, but not necessarily back with the New Day, who recently celebrated their 10-year anniversary,
10 years.
Something of that nature. Yeah. So what's going on there?
It's interesting because WWE is holding this so close to the vest. We don't even know if Big E has been cleared to wrestle. If he is cleared to wrestle, count me as one of the people who's excited. Big E is one of my favorite wrestlers, and he's an amazing person if you get a chance to meet him. We saw Monday night, the New Day essentially turned heel, and they turned heel on Big E. And the way that they blamed him for some of those things is crazy to think of. But if you ask me from a storyline perspective, if I were booking this, I would be booking this as potentially a triple threat match at WrestleMania if Big E is able to return, and then bringing the New Day back together as for positivity. Because right now you're going to see the New Day come out here, probably go after the tag team championships, be a heel faction with E and with Kofi and Woods, which is something Kofi hasn't done a lot of. Kofi is always a face. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see. I love where they're going with this. This actually has a lot of comparisons to a Dragon Ball Z storyline, which if you know the New Day, they love anime. They love to incorporate a lot of those things. And there's a lot of little Easter eggs that you can see during the segment that kind of points towards that. So that's going to be exciting to see. Hopefully E is able to be cleared. If not, it's going to be amazing to see him in this story no matter what. But I know his girlfriend, as part of the storyline, was going in on them on X, which was hilarious to see.
All right. Well, of course, stay tuned to the main card and Wilge's ring walk so that we can keep you up to date with all of the goings on in the WWE as well as in all of combat sports. And yes, wrestling is a combat sport, but don't compare winning titles. You can't do that. On the other side,
yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You're a hater.
You can't.
You're a hater. You're a hater. Just like your battle. You're a hater.
You're a mark.
You're a hater.
So on the other side of the Ozell break, we will talk about UFC 310 as well as one of the rematches taking place in Arizona. It's the main card. Keep it locked.
It's not just about the love of the game. It's about dedication and commitment through the process and the patience to endure. There's joy in reaching your goals and peace in knowing you've done all you're supposed to do. Ozell brand. It's not just a brand, it's a lifestyle.
Awesome. Welcome back, man. Shout out to the brand Ozell, man. Always making your favorite cleats, your favorite shoes. Make sure y'all get them Bruce Voice Roys out there in that royal blue so you walk around screaming foolishly cacaw as he does.
Them Battlehawk stompers.
Whatever. Let's get to it. Now, Voice, UFC 310 is full of headlines. And based on what many in the media are saying, it's going to be a bout between the unsung champion and UFC's possible new golden boy when Alexander Pantoja takes on new debuting champion Kai Asakura for the UFC Flyweight Championship. Now, the Cannibal, who's 28-5, he continues to dominate in the octagon, Voice. But despite his impressive record with wins over Brandon Royval twice and Brandon Moreno, there's still many non-believers questioning whether he's truly a draw for UFC. And now with him headlining his second event of the year, he's actually stated he's ready to showcase his talent at UFC 310 and prove the naysayers wrong and keep winning. Now, for the Cannibal, Voice, this is not just another clash and it's not just another fight. It's a collision of ambition and legacy. As John Anik eloquently put it in his interview with MMA Junkie, how can you talk about pound for pound without this guy? What kind of human weapon is going to be able to defeat Alexandra Pantoja? Anik marveled at his career and stated the battles he's fought and how he just keeps moving. And it's not just his record that's impressive, it's his resilience and the skill that he's shown every single time that he's entered the octagon. Now, meanwhile, Asakura is making his UFC debut in a championship headliner. This is a rare occurrence that underscores, his remarkable rise in the sport. Although, if you look at it historically, it has not been kind to those who debuted. Now, he's ecstatic about stepping into the octagon and has made bold promises about taking over UFC. And speaking with the media, he stated, "When I signed my contract with UFC, I told them I could fight at flyweight and bantamweight. And as discussions progressed, I said to them, look, we can bring some excitement to this division. So it would be better for me to fight at the flyweight for you. So that's why I'm fighting at flyweight." He went on to add that the UFC fans have never seen anybody like me before. I always aim to go for the KO finish, and I'm here to bring excitement back to the division. Now, despite his overzealous vows to take over, he's also shown the utmost respect for his opponent, Voice, stating, "I don't have any feelings that the Cannibal is too old. I actually think he's probably at the peak of his performance. He's an excellent and all-around fighter, and for me, it's obvious that it's going to be it's going into the future. There needs to be a change and a new king in town, and that's why I'm here to take over." Voice, it's a lot of big talk out here. And with everything that Alexander's done, you would think that he should probably get a little bit more respect. But I've seen other people compare him almost to Demetrius Johnson as if he's not going to be appreciated until it's all over. What are your thoughts on the two going into this bout?
I love the fight. And I agree that Pantoja may not get the respect that he deserves and the honor and appreciation that he deserves until after it's done, because of the same thing that kind of DJ went through. He's like blown through everybody and there's no one to fight, which is the reason that you didn't hear any qualms from anyone at flyweight when Asakura came in and went right into a title fight. What's interesting about this are the things that Asakura brings to the table, the things that he's spoken about. Notably, his power. He breaks jaws, literally. He just destroys people at a weight class above. How are people, how are the 125s going to be able to deal with the knockout power that he possesses, when again he is starching people at 135. But at the same time, how is he going to perform at 125? Because most of his fights recently have been up at bantamweight. So how's that cut going to impact him? How's that going to play into the fight? One thing that plays into Pantoja's favor is that this is the third time his team has prepared for Asakura, because Pantoja's teammate, Kyoji Horiguchi, fought Asakura twice. First time, Asakura stopped him. The second time, Pantoja said he killed him. Won't say that he did all that, but he did stop him. And, it was a convincing stoppage. The KO wasn't as sweet as what Asakura did to Kyoji, but that's a story for another day. The story, again, is this is the third time. And with having that much film, with having that much study, fight study, with having that much breakdown, and with being able to train with someone who's been in there with him twice, although the first time he wasn't in there very long, but someone who's been in there with him twice, that gives a lot of advantages. Asakura, like his team, he just like gathered them together the other day. They moved to Japan, to corner him. So how does that level of inexperience factor in when you've got a fight of this magnitude? Not that Asakura has not been in big fights before, not that he hasn't been in front of many people in Japan, but UFC Gold is a different level of pressure, and it's going to be interesting. You got one team, been there, done that, have the t-shirts to prove it, versus this unproven team. And this upstart, it's got the makings of great drama, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds.
It's definitely going to be interesting. It's almost like a underdog versus big dog type thing. But the thing about it is Pantoja really should not be the underdog, and to many right now, he's the underdog. When you think about it, for his career, Kai comes into this with 21 wins, 16 of those by KO or submission. The cannibal has only tasted defeat by decision. And the last time that happened was UFC Fight Night 172 in 2020. So it's going to be a matter of whose will is going to be broken, who's going to put who down, and how that legacy is going to move forward. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be an amazing bout. It's going to be UFC 310. And voice, that's not only the biggest fight on the card, because there's already another one. This one, we have two former teammates facing off, and what promises to be an explosive bout the way they're talking. And it's already starting with the smoke, voice. It's like you starting with that Battle Hawk hat at the beginning of every show. Nomad has stated he wants all the smoke from his former sparring partner after hearing what Ian Machado Garry has said. When he caught wind of what Machado Garry prediction of a stoppage, he gave him praise. However, Nomad went on to say that his opponent is delusional. Rakhmonov stated he's undefeated and he's beat good guys such as Jeff Neal and Michael Venom Page. But if he's the toughest test of my career, the fight will show it. I can't say it right now, and I don't think that's how it's going to happen. I think he's delusional. Now, these are bold words coming from a man who is eyeing a future welterweight championship bout with current champion Bilal Muhammad. Now, voice, if you remember, these two were actually scheduled to face off here at UFC 310 until the champion Muhammad announced that he couldn't fight due to a bone infection in his foot. And this actually kept him off of this weekend's card. But now he's cleared the train, and he's actually thrown out a warning shot to both welterweights ahead of this bout, stating, "These last 6 weeks, I've watched a lot of tape and studied both these guys. My official unbiased breakdown is that I'll break both of them." Now, Ian Machado Garry didn't hold back his thoughts either. When asked about the two being former teammates, it came up that during sparring sessions that Nomad had tapped Machado Garry on numerous occasions. Garry responded saying, if he wants to latch on to a moment of success in training from 2 years ago and think I'm still the same fighter I was then he will be sadly mistaken. I don't believe that he's going to be latching on to anything like that. I believe that he's being honest, and he's saying that it did happen, which it did. I'm not turning around and saying it didn't happen, but if I sit here and tell you the names of guys that I've beaten in sparring, it's just not relevant, and it would be a very different conversation. So he has to do it on Saturday night. I'm going to go out there and show him I'm far better than he ever can imagine. Now, voice, this matchup is not between two teammates, but it's a collision between two undefeated fighters, and it's personal pride. Rakhmonov has won each of his last 18 bouts, voice, by KO or submission, making his fights all must-watch main events. But Garry's confidence and his willingness to step up to the challenger is adding a little bit of intrigue to this matchup that gets you excited. So, voice, how much should the sparring session play into this, and what do you think about both of their thought processes going into this fight?
Sparring is just that. It's sparring. And I like that Ian is saying, hey, look, yeah, that was 2 years ago. I'm different. I'm not the same person. But sparring does play a factor in things. Let's think back to the last big fight that was had where people sparred before, being my man, Anthony Joshua, who got stopped all over again the same way he did in training with Danny Dubois, this time on a much bigger stage in front of many more people, just like he, being Anthony Joshua, did to Helenius when they fought and they sparred. So you can't dismiss the fact that they've faced each other in sparring before. You can't dismiss that. Now, can things change? Yes. People age, they mature, and different things happen. But Shavkat, what he did to Ian Garry, he's done to everyone, every single body that he's faced. And he, too, is much different in 2 years. So I really enjoy, and I am excited about the fact that Ian was so eager to take this. It's like, what does he know that everyone else doesn't know? To jump up and fight Rakhmonov when Rakhmonov has been one of the most ducked fighters out there. Maybe it is the familiarity that they have with each other. Not sure, but I know that you've got two people who are undefeated facing each other in the UFC for 5 rounds, and it is not a title fight. That is very, very uncommon. And for Rakhmonov, he's rolling the dice because he was supposed to fight for the title. He could have just, said, I'll wait for him to get well. We'll fight in a couple months. That's not a big deal. The fact that he said, no, I still want to fight, and that he accepted this fight with Garry, that also poses some other questions. It's so interesting and so intriguing that you just got to be there. You got to watch this fight because you don't know what's going to happen. It could be that Rakhmonov runs over him like he's run over everyone else. It could be that Garry's got the kryptonite for the Kazakhstan supermine in Nomad. We won't know until the pin drops, the cage door locks, and they throw up their thumbs and start the clock.
It's definitely interesting to see in preparing for this, just reading up, and they were stating that this was actually his third option of an opponent. I believe there was actually an option for him to face Usman that actually fell apart, and then I think they said that Colby Covington was also another alternate, which that did not happen for different reasons. Also, that I've heard there was said that Colby Covington actually ducked him, but Usman was ready to take it, but it just didn't happen. So It'll be interesting to see.
Kobe
especially
Covington
with-
ducked a fight? Not Kobe Covington.
I didn't want to do that here, but it's going to be interesting to see. That's going to be UFC 310. Make sure you are following my man, The Voice, man, to get all your feedback, to understand what's happening and any breaking news that's happening, man. Make sure that you are following MTMV Sports, because we will be sure to provide it. Now, it's back. One of my favorite segments, The Voice's Marquee Matchup. Voice, this week, we got a championship bout, and it's a sequel. Tell us about it and tell us why it's this week's Voices Marquee Matchup.
The Voices Marquee Matchup this week is Emmanuel Caballero. I'm sorry, not Caballero. Vaquero Navarrete versus Oscar Valdez #2. It's a Voices Marquee Matchup because there are a whole lot of question marks that are associated with this fight. The first one was a great fight. It's the last clean win that Navarrete has had. Everything else he has been it's been a split decision, either a majority decision that he won versus Conceição, or a split decision that he lost going up in weight, daring to be great against Dennis Baranchyk. And that's really the piece of things that makes this so intriguing. He's coming back down to 130, and really his fight at 135, it didn't look like he did the preparation necessary to fight. It's just like he showed up and fought at 135, but you still did it. With coming down in weight, does that help you because you're actually doing the things you need to be successful, or is that going to be a hindrance because you fought at 135 before? For Oscar Valdez, he's been around the block for quite some time, but been around the block a couple times, yet has still been successful. 32 fights, or I should say 34 fights, and 32 of them he has won. Only lost twice, but those 2 losses have come within his last 5 fights. One of them being to Navarrete, the other one being to Shakur Stevenson. Valdez, again, has been out there for a while and has fought, a who's who, been champion, but has time pass him on. He's been fighting for 12 years. He's 33 years old, so he's had a couple more fights than he is old. He's still ranked #1 in Mexico in the super featherweight division, but Father Time comes for everyone. Father Time is undefeated, and being 33 and being a fighter, at a heavier division, that's not such a bad thing, especially heavyweight 33, you got a lot of time left. Middleweight 33, you might be okay, but we're already kind of looking side-eyed at someone like Bud. It's like, how much longer are you gonna fight? Because he's in that age, that 35, 33 age range. For the lower weight fighters to fight at this age is really advanced. Can he turn back the clock and achieve greatness? Or is he, this is last hurrah? Those are the questions that this fight poses, and that's why it's the Voices Marquee Matchup. Oh, and can Valdez again turn back the clock and have a phenomenal kind of knockout performance like he did with that KO of the year against Burchell a couple years ago? Or will Navarrete get back to his KO ways, something that he hasn't seen in a while? There's so many different questions that will be answered when they step in the ring, and that's why it's a Voices Marquee Matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, stated a lot there with Navarrete, him looking to get back on track. I mean, he had the draw and then he had the loss his last 2 bouts. Before that, of course, he had the win against Oscar Valdez. So it'll be good to actually see them kind of go at it and see how that turns out. as we always talk about, the sequels a lot of times is always better than the original. You always end up seeing something a lot different that inspires you. So that's actually going to be an amazing bout to see. But that's not all that we have. Voice, give us your last bouts that we should be looking forward to this weekend.
Whew, it's too much. It's too much. And you said last bouts. I mean, there's so many fights. Number one, UFC 310. Like on paper, this is how you close a year out. It may not have a whole lot of name value from a household perspective, but you've got former interim champ Cyril Gane taking on former Bellator heavyweight champ Alexander Volkov. You got Thug Nasty, Bryce Mitchell fighting a Chrome Gracie, who hadn't fought in God knows how long. And everybody wondered, how did this fight come about? I don't know, but I like it. And I'm looking forward to seeing it, especially knowing that Bryce Mitchell's bread and butter is the ground game. Can he be successful against a Gracie on the ground? What? Nate Landwehr versus Duho Choi, Anthony Smith, Dominic Reyes, Vicente Luque, supposed to fight Nick Diaz. Salute to Nick Diaz, praying for you because things don't look right. Looks like CTE possibly onset with some of the things that are going on. You know, he's fighting Timber Garimbo. Mozar Evloev, undefeated, facing Aljamain Sterling. And this is on the prelims. On the early prelims, you got Chris Weidman fighting Eric Anders. Michael Chiesa is fighting. Clay Guida. Kennedy is Chukwu. I mean, this card is super stacked. And then we talked about the rematch between Navarrete and Valdez, but that's not the only rematch on that card. You also have Espinoza and Robesi Ramirez rematching each other, and their fight was absolutely phenomenal. You know, you got Richard Torres fighting. You got so many people on that boxing card as well. And that's just that card. I feel like it's a fight card over in the UK as well. It's too many fights, which is the reason why I did not create a flyer with all the fights, because it's too many. Liam Paro, Richardson Hitchens. Come on, man. I mean, it's just too much fighting going on. Even old man Kubrat Puliev is stepping back in the ring, facing off against Mahmoud Char. I mean, it is a wonderful weekend to be a fight fan.
Yeah, I mean, and on top of that, you also have NXT Deadline. This is going to be the third or fourth iteration of it. It's going to be a loaded card. Probably one of my favorite matches is the Iron Survivor Challenge. This is going to be to determine the number one contender for the NXT Men's Championship. There's also going to be one for the Women's NXT Championship. On top of that, you got Trick Williams and Ridge Holland. They're going to be facing off for the NXT Championship. Nathan Frazier and Axiom are going to be taking on the No Quarter Catch crew for the tag team title match. And Lola Vice, a former MMA fighter, is taking on Jada Parker in an NXT Underground match. If you got to see their first hardcore bout, they stole the show. So that's going to be what you're going to be able to see all weekend. We've provided you everything that you need because that's who we are. We're MTMV Sports. We are the fans. All we do is we go and do the work so we can provide you this greatness, and y'all can see these, these handsome faces and listen to these voices. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on all podcast networks that you need to. And check out our writing on mtmvsports.com. I'm tripping today.
It's all right. You in the right vein because you just remembering the old site.
Thank you all for tuning in. Voice, take us out.
Until next time, fight the good fight.
Hey, what's going on, family? It's your boy, Miles Austin. You just watched the show here on the MTMV Sports Network. You want to see more exciting content just like that? Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Just hit the button.